Bonjour! It be me, your NB buddy Moogies. Let's get to the brass tacks and do some housekeeping first. Sorry I've been MIA. I'm in the middle of moving, or I would be if the new place would confirm things on their end. My laptop is not in the greatest shape, so I'm dealing with that as well. I'm borrowing my roommate's laptop when he's not using it, so until I can replace my old one and get one that'll last me the next half a decade, if not longer, then videos might be slow. I wanted to make content for this channel more consistently since I foolishly claimed 2024 to be my year of creative endeavors. However, because I don't want to commit to making the third and final part of Cinder's Fall just yet, I'm aiming for 2025 because I do not have the energy to edit nearly 3 hours of audio that's left with appropriate Ruby video clips. I thought, what's a relatively easy way to create content and I can just talk about my opinions or feelings on something instead of making long form content, like the only thing I know how to do that takes forever to produce and then just flops. I'm not bitter, I'm just being silly. I also plan to remake some of my older content, and when I can get a better microphone, I'm thinking a lapel microphone or a lavalier, I don't know how you say it. And would you look at that, by the time I'm writing this sentence, I asked my roommate to pick me up one, so hopefully you'll be hearing decent audio, and I can make good on these future remastering of my old content, audio only likely. Wish I could afford an editor because editing is my least favorite part of this, but I'm also very particular about how I want my videos looking, and I should probably learn to up the quality and incorporate effects. I'm laughing because my cat's just catting. And I could probably learn to up the quality and incorporate effects and significantly experiment with presentation. So until I'm a cajillionaire, I will likely be editing these videos at a pace that would make Tsunade Slug Familiar Katsuyu smile. I've seen tons of people do ranking videos and I thought, let me try that. So here we are. I literally couldn't decide on what interest of mine to rank, but thankfully that same roommate, Kaylin, came to my rescue and recommended I rank Resident Evil games. So that's what we're going to do here. A bit of backstory. I love Resident Evil. Until I got into the Bayonetta games, it was my #1 favorite video game franchise. It's still one of my favorites. I'm a slut for survival horror, and horror in general. And as a child of the 90s, I grew up playing these games. I vividly recall renting Resident Evil 0 for the GameCube from Blockbuster and losing one of the discs and freaking out because we had to return it, and eventually finding that other disc hidden under one of the couch cushions in the guest room's couch near the door. I love the retro graphics, the nostalgia of the games, and everything about that era. What can I say? I love the 90s. Sidebar, if you do too, or any decade, I cannot recommend enough checking out Intellectual Media and her retrospective series on the 90s, 80s, 70s, etc. She's just started her 90s series, and I believe there's one after, about the 2000s, or there will be, hopefully, maybe, and maybe the 2010s, I don't know. Either way, all around stellar stuff. Stellar stuff. Anyways, I grew up on Resident Evil, and I would love to do a full series retrospective and full series review. Yeah. Anyways, I grew up on Resident Evil, and I would love to do a full series review and retrospective, a la some of my favorite YouTubers like Cvit, Tangomushi, Eurothug 4000. I could have sworn it was 3000 before, but what do I know? Maybe it's the Mandela effect, like the Berenstain Bears. Mert KK, The Sphere Hunter, Avalanche Reviews, King K, Nam's Compendium, The Gaming Brit Show, Boulder Punch, Don Critic, The The Cosmonaut Variety Hour, Noah Caldwell, Gervais, The Lady of Lore, Pelvic Gaming, Young Falcon, Oni Black Mage, Some Call Me Johnny, Raven Draws, the list goes on and on. But until I can learn how to properly review games and articulate my thoughts in a way that's conducive to video game reviews and media, I'll slowly ease myself into that world with a quasi review in the form of ranking videos. Thankfully, there's already an up-to-date Resident Evil ranking list on tiermaker.com, and I've rambled long enough, so let's see what we're working with. Okay, so that was my preamble that I did on. I wrote that down because I wanted to get to the point and everything. You might hear some audio that was crumbling and stuff. That was probably my leather chair that I sit on, the recliner. Let's see. Resident Evil. So this is a tier list so far that I've made. S is the top tier Can I change it? I'm recording things on OBS and like I'm new to this. So I will probably not be able to properly do anything until I can figure out how the fudge to do stuff. Let me pause right here. Okay, I'm trying to record it while also like doing it proper. Hopefully this is still working, and if not, I'm gonna feel like a dumb. So this is the tier ranking. Let me check. Yes, my taskbar, my what's the words? Tabs and everything are busy. Yes, I know. Let's ignore them for now. So, Resident Evil 1996 to 2023 tier list maker. I had to make it gay as fuck. Rainbows, love rainbows. Everything is rainbows for me. Let's talk over what the rankings are. S is obviously the best, top tier. It will be standing for stellar. A is absolutely amazing. B is beautiful. C is cool, okay, acceptable. D is damn, it's disastrous. It's not disgusting, but it's like it's not good. It's there's some minor redeeming elements in this thing, but on the whole, probably not. E is for the same thing, but like even less redeemable qualities. E is for effort. Like there's some effort in there, but like on the whole, the product is not coming together to be something worth playing. F is it's a straight up fucking failure. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. It is pathetic. It is garbage. It is the worst thing since unsliced bread. Never played means I've never played it, and literally do not care. I don't know why I put that there. I think it's just because I wanted to complete it. The color trifecta. Let me actually like add one more row just for the pink. I'd love to do one for white, silver, gray, and black, but I'm not gonna do that. Extra. Why not? Let's do extra. And it will be the pink color. Okay. Oh, it's the same thing? It's the same color? Wait. Then this should be this color, right? Okay, there we go. Now it's coming together. So let's see the games we have. Resident Evil, of course, the original 1996. Resident Evil 2, 1998, Resident Evil 3, 1999, Code Veronica X. I think Code Veronica came out in 2000, so the X version I think was 2001. Resident Evil Survivor, I honestly don't know when it came out. I will get to it. This one is Resident Evil Survivor 2, Code Veronica. Sure. Resident Evil Gaiden. Okay. This one, Resident Evil, the remake, the 2002 remake of this game right here. Resident Evil 0 came out 2002 as well, I think. I don't know when Resident Evil Dead Aim came out. Resident Evil Outbreak, I think, came out 2005. So Resident Evil Outbreak File number 2 might have come out 2006. I don't know when Resident Evil... Well, maybe it came out this... Or either they've been paired together because they're both Resident Evil Outbreaks. This one obviously came out later. But it's making me think that because Resident Evil 4 I know came out in 2005, if this is before it, did it come out 2005? No, it couldn't have been, because they wouldn't have done two at the same time, right? So 2006, I think. I don't know when Deadly Silence came out. Resident Evil 5, I'm pretty sure came out 2009. I think this came out 2011. Resident Evil The Mercenaries 3D, Resident Evil The Umbrella Chronicles, and Resident Evil The Dark Side Chronicles. It's actually kind of hard to see. Let me just zoom in a bit. I'm getting old. Resident Evil Revelations, I think that came out 2012, because I know Resident Evil 6 came out 2012. This, I think 2015, Resident Evil Revelations 2. I don't know. I think maybe 2016. I don't know. I don't know this one. Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, Umbrella Corps. I don't know when that came out. Resident Evil 2, I know for sure came out 2019. This one came out, Resident Evil 3 came out 2020. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard came out 2017, didn't it? So I'm assuming that the rest of them are not necessarily in release order, unless these are moved to about. Resident Evil Village came out 2021. Resistance came out with Resident Evil 3 in 2020. Reverse came out after Village, I think. I've never played Resident Evil 4 VR Remake, and Resident Evil 4 2023 Remake, excuse me, obviously came out this year. So, we understand the rankings, we understand what the games are. How are we going to do this? I'm assuming I will just go straight from the beginning, and I will talk about these games as I see fit, as I feel about them, and let's go. So, Resident Evil 1996, the original, the one that started it all, the one that popularized and codified survival horror. There were other survival horror games before that, of course, like Alone in the Dark, I think came out in 1992. But I think this is the origin of the phrase survival horror. I can't be sure about that. I think it was either a marketing thing or something, but Resident Evil is like, when you think of survival horror and origins of it, Resident Evil 1996 comes across as the grandfather of it all, even though again, as I said, I think Alone in the Dark came out in 1992 and is technically, it fits the qualifications of what a survival horror is. I'm currently playing through that game for the first time though, so that might be something to look into, because I got into it after the what's the word? The Alone in the Dark remake was announced for 2023, but then they pushed it again to 2024, March 2024. Let's hope that it's coming out next month. Okay, so Resident Evil. So much was fun about this game. The graphics do not bother me. The dialogue is, of course, truly iconic. You cannot talk about Resident Evil without talking about how janky and terabad the dialogue is for the game, and it's just, it has that Norm charm to it. It has the hokiness of the dialogue, the bad translations, the bad delivery, the bad intonations of it all, just add to something that is like, it just makes it feel very silly. And you would think that like bad voice acting would result in a bad product, but that's not necessarily the case. Resident Evil is a fantastic game. It's a fantastic time, really. And it's a fantastic start to the franchise that has been enduring for, 25 plus years now? 1996. It's going to be 30 years in 2 years from now. So it's the 28th anniversary this year? That's wild. The survival horror mechanics, you had to really like, I keep forgetting to like do something with my mouse, so it's just like you're not staring at a screen and like hearing my voice and like thinking like, what is this person doing? Where would I rank it? I should probably rank it and then talk about it to justify it, so it's not just down here doing nothing. That's the hard thing. I don't know where to rank it, so I will literally put a literally do not care. I'm kidding, of course not. I have to care. I know it's better than a C. I'm just moving it up. I know it's better than a... I don't think it's S tier. I kind of want to put it in S tier because it's the origins and I have to respect that it started everything. But I don't think... I think the games that iterated on it resulted in it... by the fact that other games improved on the formula means that those games are better or have the potential to be better than the original. So if I'm going to rank those games higher, I cannot put the original Resident Evil in S tier. But but I still want to respect it with respect to it being the game that introduced the whole thing, that started everything, that was the origins of so many mechanics. Inventory management for the game, for the series, obviously not for like gaming in general, but like for the series, inventory management, health items, the puzzles, the lore and files, everything like that. So I'm going to, and I feel like I got so much of it right on the first time, and that's very impressive for me. Like, I do like how the lore was handled, because like it's a zombie invasion, it's a zombie invasion, not outbreak, I should say. It was an outbreak of the T virus, and like everybody's pretty much dead. So in order to be able to convey the lore, they would have to leave it in these little notebooks and pamphlets and stuff you find throughout the world, which I think is a very fitting choice for how to convey the narrative and the backstory of the game and the world building of the game. I will, and it also, like, from the jump introduced the two-player mechanic, or not two-player mechanic, but the two playable characters that you can rotate between, and like the difficulty of Chris having a harder difficulty by having less inventory space, whereas Jill had more inventory space but like a lower health bar or health span or lifespan, even if you want to go there. I'm rambling at this point. I think that Resident Evil 1996, the original, the start of the franchise, the grandfather of survival horror, Alone in the Dark's the great granddaddy, I suppose. I'm gonna put it at an A. It's amazing. It's really, really good. And I'm saying right off the bat that I will probably move around these things as I see fit. If I come to something later and I feel that, I think I made a mistake here, or I want to rank something lower, and therefore something that I feel is worse is still higher than that, I'll have to readjust that. Or if it's the opposite, where I rank something good but I think something is even better and I ranked it lower, I'll have to adjust and move it up or down as I see fit. So that's where we're at in terms of Resident Evil, the original. That's what I'm ranking it at. An A for amazing is the start. It got so much right on the first try, and it was just a good time. Resident Evil 2, this game right here. What to say about Resident Evil? Hold on, gotta clear my throat. What can I say about Resident Evil 2 that has not already been said? It's an awful game. No, I think that's it. Yeah, I'm sure that's been said. I don't mean that at all. I just like to be contrarian and say shit that I don't mean, for the fun of it all. Resident Evil 2, I think that it improved on the graphics a bit. No, not even a bit. It improved on the graphics of the original quite a bit, in terms of like polygonal count, how the models looked, the character models, how many zombies you could have on screen. The environment, I think, was still very good. I do like the idea of a police station being made out of a, not an abandoned, I guess, like refashioned or repurposed art museum, which would justify and explain the intricate level design and labyrinthine sort of feeling to the game, which I didn't talk about at all for the original. But like, as I said, I'm new to this, and I'm going across as I can, and we will see what we will see. Resident Evil 2, I really should have written a script for this, but honestly, I don't even know if a script is necessary. because this is going to be a Hot Mess Express and it's supposed to be my feelings. And this was supposed to be a short video, but it's not going to be a short video apparently. Resident Evil 2, I think, was an improvement on Resident Evil 1. Again, the graphics were better. I think that the story, it's been said multiple times, but I do think it's true that, like, it took on a more Hollywood, big budget, like, blockbuster feel in terms of the story and the narrative. I do think that's accurate. I do think, especially with high octane, explosions, I guess it was there in the original with respect to like the mansion blowing up and the lab and all that sort of stuff, and finishing it off with a rocket launcher. But I think Resident Evil 2 also kind of like kicked that up a notch, and like it did the same thing but like bigger. The countdown to it all felt very more grand somehow than the original, because I think everything was larger in scope for Resident Evil 2 because of how it was a larger map originally, because it expanded to, and this is something that also happened in Resident Evil 3 especially, but expanded to a larger scope because you start out on the streets of Raccoon City, where as opposed to like you are in the mansion and you're staying in the mansion for a majority of the game. In Resident Evil 1, you explore the shed, you explore the underground caverns and caves, and then the lab and all that sort of stuff. But Resident Evil 2, you start out on the street, you see the effects of the zombie apocalypse, the outbreak of the T-virus, you see people shattered in terms of like, you see society shattered, you see these people shambling about, and like their lives are over, like everything is gone to shit, basically everything's gone to pot. Is that a thing? Okay, whatever. Then Resident Evil 2 feels like it is grander in scope, and I feel that because of that, it feels that it's larger. The explosions and like the narrative and like the stakes are larger than they were in Resident Evil 1, even though because Resident Evil 1, again, it feels like it feels like in Resident Evil 1 that the stakes were limited to the characters, and like they were locked in this mansion. Everything had like, we did not know the outbreak had been exposed to the full city. We knew that like there were some zombie attacks in Arklay Forest and like the mountain areas, and the zombie attacks and all that, but it was like they would chalk it up to like animal attacks or like some weird shit happening, but not necessarily like a full-on outbreak like the way it was in Resident Evil 2, where you saw the results of that. It was much more implied in Resident Evil 1, and you don't see outside of the outside of the house, outside of the mansion and that sort of thing much. So it's very a local, locked mansion, locked environment, locked locale sort of feeling to the Resident Evil 1. So because you start out in the streets in Resident Evil 2, and then you go through all these different places, including the mansion, and you see the destruction, and you see the zombies, and you see things on fire, people fucking dead, it makes it feel that it's bigger. And that translated to the story. The voice acting was remarkably better, much better. What was his name? The guy who voiced Leon. I know his name. I'm just blanking on the moment. It's not Paul Haddad. Paul Haddad, rest in peace to Paul Haddad. Ashley, what is her name? I know her name too. What is it? Allison Court. Allison Court, that's it. Paul Haddad and Allison Court, they did great. I think it was, I don't know if it was Sally Cahill for Ada in RE2. I think it was her in RE4. It might have been her in RE2 as well. But the voice cast, the guy who voiced Marvin, I should probably look that up. Let me put some respect on their name. Let's see. Resident. I'm trying to type, but like it's pressing. Resident Evil. Typos there. Resident Evil 2, 1998. Voice actors. So it was Sally Cahill for Ada. They're showing me the 2019 people. That is not who we are here to talk about right now. They did well, but like still. Paul Haddad for Leon S. Kennedy, Allison Court for Claire Redfield, Sally Cahill for Ada Wong, Lisa Jai for Sherry Birkin as Lisa Yamanaka, Jennifer Dale as Annette Birkin, Rod Wilson, Ben Bertolucci, Gray Crawford, Brian Irons, Diego Matamoros, William Birkin, Dennis Fault as narrator. Who did Marvin? Did they not have Marvin? Who voiced Marvin? Rob Wilson, according to the wiki. He voiced Ben Bertolucci and Marvin Branagh. Why did they not have him listed as Martin? Anyways, everyone did such a good job. It was really good. The voice acting alone was leaps and bounds better than Resident Evil 1's. I kind of want to give that a knock against Resident Evil 1, but like it just made it more iconic, I think. More campy, more hilarious, like the Jill sandwich line, "You're almost a Jill sandwich," or it is especially powerful against living things. Like, yes, that's okay. Okay, ranking Resident Evil 2. It is. I might have to put this down here to a B. Resident Evil 1 to a B. Resident Evil 2 to an A. Resident Evil 3. I'm not even gonna like hold you. I'm gonna put it right up here. It's one of my favorites. I personally really oh sorry Mike. It's one of my favorites. I personally really enjoy it. I think that I kind of want to put it here, but like maybe I should rank this list on like my vibes, on like which ones I like. This is my list that I like best. Why the fuck not? Resident Evil 3 is my personal favorite. One of my personal favorites. I really enjoyed it. I like seeing the whole city being trashed and destroyed by the virus. I like exploring that. I enjoy that the first two games allowed you to like. The first one set up the story and like you see the zombies and everything, and you see the cause of it. Resident Evil 2, but like most of it was like implied in terms of like how it affected outside the mansion and the lab and like the outhouse and the shed and all that, and the caves. Resident Evil 2, you get a more like obvious look into it because you start out on the streets, you see the destruction, you see the town on fire, you see all this sort of shit going, you see everything going tits up, and it's like, yikes, like this is a zombie apocalypse, like we're really in it now, like oh we're really in it now. But then like it reins it in a bit, and then you go back to like the isolated like locked locale of the police department, of the sewers, of the laboratory, of those sort of things. Like you don't see the destruction as much because you're in these confined spaces, or these isolated locales, I should say, instead of like locked spaces, because I mean I guess a lot of the rooms are locked, so whatever. Then there's Resident Evil 3, in which like you're exploring the entire city, and it makes sense that like it takes place before and after RE2, because you get to see that entire story span the entire length of the story of RE2, and like how shit started in the city and how it ended after Leon and Claire and Sherry and them got out of the city and like moved on with their lives and lived happily ever after, as we all know. Yes, that's isn't don't you sometimes think about like the characters' lives, like if they're real people and how they live, and like they don't get happy endings really. Like they just get milked for eternity for like their trauma for our entertainment, and it's kind of fucked up if you think of them as like real people and like their lives as something that like these are like to them these are their lives, these are what exists to them, like these are their experiences, what they go through in like a zombie apocalypse, all these people dying, losing people you love and care about. But to us who just consume this as media, like we know that they are probably never going to stop suffering because like then the franchise would be over, they'd have nothing to do. But like in the context of the games and in the context of like in universe, that's their entire life. Like don't you think that it's kind of fucked up? Like sometimes I think about like characters in fiction and like from their perspective how this is their lives and everything, and it's fucked up that like they're just going to suffer forever because otherwise we wouldn't have entertainment. But enough about the Torment Nexus and everything, or the ones who walk away from Omelas. Going back to the point, if I can, Resident Evil 2 gave us more of a glimpse of Raccoon City and the wider the outbreak and like how it is affecting people in the streets and the world at large. And Resident Evil 3, you're in the fucking thick of it. Like you see everything, you hear everything, you feel everything, you taste everything. Why are you giving me that look, roommate? Do not give me that look. So you just see like it's so much more visceral because like you are in like the entire game takes place in the giant map of Raccoon City itself. Like we know the outbreak happens in Raccoon City, but like now we get to play in the outbreak, we get to be in the outbreak, we get to see the outbreak, we get to see the devastation firsthand, we get to go through the zombie infested streets, the destruction, the desolation, the fires, the zombiality of it all. That's And plus Jill is just fucking iconic. She's one of my, like, I play her as like I play her in Resident Evil 1996 every time I play. I don't think I've ever like completed Chris's scenario or even like really played it because like I like playing Jill that much. I should probably do it for Chris and play his side of the stuff. And I probably will for achievements and like have that on my retro achievements and like explore the story and see his side of things and everything. But like Jill is my girl. Like Ada's my number one, but like Jill is my girl, really. So like I really enjoyed Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. It's one of my personal favorites, so like it's up there. I enjoy playing in the city. I enjoy the pursuer. Nemesis stresses the fuck out of me. He stresses the fuck out of everybody, really. Like I think that he's a really interesting pursuer. Like he's probably the first pursuer character I've ever like had pursue me in a video game, and just like relentless, and he beats the shit out of you, and he like I think he I'm not gonna say what I was gonna say. It's out of pocket, but I'm gonna say it. I think he'd make a really good Daddy Dom actually, with his choking and everything, and like he has his tentacles, and like this video was never gonna be monetized, so like let me just talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation. No, I think that, and he's always picking you up. He can pick you up easily with that one hand. Like Nemesis, I was unfamiliar with your game in Nemesis. Like interesting. He's an excellent antagonist. He's an excellent villain. I wonder if people thirst for... Why don't people thirst for Nemesis? I never see it. I never see people thirst for Nemesis the way they do for Pyramid Head. Or I was going to say Pirate Head. Is it because his face is like busted? Like he can't help. He could get the stuff fixed, or you could put a bag on it. He could put a pyramid head on it. I wonder if like... Okay, I'm getting too far into the weeds here. Like, This is not what it's supposed to be. Nemesis, great antagonist. Jill, great protagonist. I was about to say Claire. Chris, no, not Chris. Carlos. I liked him. I enjoyed him. I honestly missed the accent. I liked the accent for him. I liked it. I think it just worked for me personally. I know for some people it didn't work, but it is what it is. What else is there to say? This is one of my top games. Isn't it interesting how in ascending order, in reverse order that it goes up? Like the first one is lower than the second one, which is lower than the third one. Code Veronica, I'm not going to hold you either. It is literally, if I can move it up, it's one of my top. I love it, love it, love it. Claire is one of my girls. She is one of my top girls. I enjoy her so much. She is an absolutely great character. We need, I've been waiting forever. Like when Resident Evil 3 didn't have its remake, I was like, I need Resident Evil 3 to have its remake. And then you know what they did? They gave it a remake, but they made it a lackluster one. The way that you know how they showed up and showed out for Resident Evil 2, and like they did everything for it. They gave it DLC, they gave it polish, they gave it the two scenarios. The second one wasn't the exact same thing for it, but like at least it was there. You could play again as a second time. But Resident Evil 3, like the original 1993 version, it has always felt like it was the disrespected black sheep family member, and like it needed, nobody loves it as much as like they love 1 or 2. Of the trilogy, of the PlayStation trilogy of Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3, very rarely will you see people claim Resident Evil 3 is their favorite. They'll say it's too action focused. They'll say it's the start of the downfall of the survival horror that led into Resident Evil 4 becoming like full on action horror. They'll say so much shit, and like they'll play in its face and be like, Resident Evil 3 is a bad game. It's not. It's a short game. Fair, it is a short game. But like it deserved so much from its remake. It deserved so much. The way that Resident Evil 2 remake gave so much love and respect to the original game, and like that was evident in the content. That was evident in like this game being so respectful of this game right here. But this game, we're going to talk about this game, and how it reflects as a remake, quote unquote, of that game. Like, so much to be said about Resident Evil 3 remake and how disappointing it was. So back before RE3 remake was announced, I was really rooting for it, pulling for it, hoping for it. We got it. It's a fun game, don't get me wrong, it's enjoyable, but like as a remake, it is not a good remake. It's a good game, not a good remake. So now that Resident Evil Code Veronica X, I think it literally just turned 24 years old a couple of days ago. There is so much that can be said, and I'm really pulling and rooting and hoping and praying for a remake, and like people are saying like so much. The streets are talking, the streets are whispering, you know, like they're saying that there are 5 Resident Evil games in development right now, and if that is true, and if Resident Evil Code Veronica X is not one of them, I'm just gonna have to pull up to Capcom, and we're gonna have a conversation in like a Shibuya Park or something. I do not care if they are in Osaka. I do not care if they are in Tokyo. I do not care if they are in a third place that I can't name because I can't name any right now. Kyoto. I don't care if they're in any of those places. They're gonna have to meet me in a Shibuya Park, and we're gonna have to like have a conversation. I need Resident Evil Code Veronica remake so fucking badly. Like I need it right now. I need to inject that shit straight into my veins and like Never talk about anything ever again. This game is top tier. So many people are so disrespectful of this game. It is good. It is very, very good. Some things have not aged well in terms of like Alfred and like his portrayal of. I don't know if you consider his portrayal of mental health and dissociative identity disorder to be disrespectful or like offensive. That's up to each person to decide. His the implied sort of transphobia with how he like not cosplays, but like cross dresses as his own sister, but thinks he is her because like she's been frozen for 15 years and like he got lonely or whatever, and like he's extremely codependent, and it's kind of fucked up for what's his name, Alfred, because like he wasn't even intended, you know, like was it Edward? Was his father Edward or was Alexander? I think his father was Alexander. Alexander Ashford, like I think that like he only intended to like recreate Veronica, which meant that he only intended to create Alexia. And whose DNA did he mix with to create her? That's what I want to know. But Alfred was an unintended byproduct of like his sister's existence. So, and like his lowered intelligence, like he's very smart obviously, but not as smart as hyper genius Alexia. It's just like I kind of feel bad for him. So, but there's a lot to be said of his portrayal and how he was handled in Code Veronica, and I wonder how they are going to address that, or maybe just sidestep it entirely if they do a remake for Code Veronica. But the matter remains that I do want a remake for Code Veronica. It is fucking top tier. I need it right now. I need it yesterday. I need it 20 years ago, which would have been about the same time that the original came out. Doesn't matter, I still need it.